All right. Oh, jeez. Well, wait a minute. All right. How's that? Better? All right. Good evening, folks, and welcome to the April 21st special Finance Committee meeting. At this time, I'd like to call the meeting to order, and I ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Councilwoman Graziano.
Present.
Councilman Andujar.
Present.
Councilman Ritz. Councilman Trafficante. Councilwoman Haroyan. Not here yet. Council Vice President Wall.
Here.
Council President Marino.
Sorry, I had no answer. Okay. Before we begin tonight's agenda, I would like, I'm sure many of you heard of the passing of Senate President Dominic Ruggiero and also Pope Francis. So I'd like to take a moment of silence to honor these two fellows. Thank you. The first item of business tonight will be public hearings. We're going to go to public comment first. If anybody is here in the chamber would like to make a public comment regarding agenda matters, please step up to wherever the podium is, which I have right there. Please step up to the podium. State your name and address for the record. Okay, I see none. Tom, do you see anybody online who'd like to make public comment?
I see no public comment online.
Okay, so at this time, I'm going to close public comment. The next item of business we're going to move on to is going to be public hearings. We have several departments that are on the agenda this evening. We're going to start first, and I believe Director Zealous, you're going to answer to this. Workforce Innovations. Please, I ask you, all the members of the committee, if you could raise your hands because I'm having I'm a little obstructed view here. So I can see you guys very well, but the other side, not so well. All right, so Director Zealous.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Workforce Innovation is on page 26 of the small budget book. Similar to other non-general fund related activities, such as the sewer fund and the block grant. The Workforce Innovation Fund is a collaborative with the city of Providence, where we supply for personnel on our payroll and charge back the program for all expenses related to the program. The actual budget is exclusively salaries and fringes. And again, it is a non-tax levy budget. And I was just going to address the council president, but this is grant funded, not directly through us. The program is grant funded. So this would be potentially subject to any actions at a federal level.
Okay, are there any questions for Director Zealous on the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act? If I'm not mistaken, I don't see any questions. All right, so we'll move on. The next department or the next item on the agenda would be the Ice Rink Enterprise Fund.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. That is on page 23. The Ice Rink Enterprise Fund, similar to the Workforce Innovation Fund, is an enterprise account. So all their activities are funded by revenues generated from the rink. For FY 26, the estimated revenues are 723,000, and the estimated expenses are 723,000. It's one employee, a series of part-time employees, primarily the Zamboni drivers, and some expenses related to the upkeep and operations of the ice rink.
Director, I'm seeing a different figure here. I see 732.
732, 786.
Yes, okay. My only question would be, I noticed in it, we're expecting more revenues this year. Is there any reason why we expect more?
Through the chair, it's additional, smaller events. It's nothing, major. It's a $4,000 increase. It's some smaller events for, utilization of the rink.
Thank you. Question, I see Councilman Banana.
More so for the auditor, but are we on track? Are we on track to make our budget this year for the rink? Well, both.
Currently, right now, revenues are tracking right at on point 69%. As of February, it's usually 67%. So it's running currently on point. Give me 1 second just to get to revenues, please. Currently, as a whole, there are 2 categories running over budget, and the remaining categories are running right at point. The 2 categories, part-time help is running over and payroll tax is running over. And the part-time help's running at 87%, which is about 20% over. And I don't know if it's a misposting, but payroll taxes is running at 209%, which does not seem correct because that's just a derivative of payroll, and it does seem quite a bit.
Perhaps it's, excuse me, is that a typo? Because we see payroll taxes. We see payroll taxes like in the teens, and then all of a sudden it drops by $10,000 for last year's, well, this fiscal year's budget. So maybe, you think that might be a typo, Director?
If I can get back, I don't know, I don't want to shoot from there, but echoing what Auditor DeMayo said, in terms of the part-time help being over, there are, what I'm looking at, it could be a misposting because I see other accounts running, such as construction in progress being under. So I'd like to look at the overage on the payroll tax to see if it was a misposting.
Okay.
So Director, you'll get that answer for us
Yep.
and email the committee. Thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions regarding the Ice Rink Enterprise Fund? I'm looking down here. Before I take Councilman Trafficani, you want to add something to that, don't you, Auditor?
Just to simplify it, usually the calculation for payroll is 7.65% of gross payroll. So that's a benchmark. If you ever see a payroll category, it's usually 7.65% of the gross.
Thank you, Auditor. Councilman Trafficani.
Quick question. You said at the very beginning, this was an enterprise fund.
Through the chair to the mayor, yes, it is.
So normally in an enterprise fund, the enterprise fund in itself keeps all the revenue. I understand that. But they also incur some of the expenses as well. What expenses are they incurring in the enterprise fund?
Just the personnel, some construction on the building, and the utilities. They pay for their own utilities, sir.
So what expenses are borne by the city? Just the,
Through the chair to council, none.
Okay, all right.
The operations
are Okay.
funded by the
Very good. That's what I want to clear. Thank you.
Their operations are borne by the revenues which they generate.
Very good. That's the answer I wanted. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone on this side before I move to the other side? All right, Councilwoman Haroyan, did I see you or was it Councilwoman Graziano?
Thank you, Councilman Wall. I'm sorry. Can I get clarity from Mr. DeMayo? I apologize. I missed on the track for revenue.
Revenue's currently running at 69%, which is right on point. 8 months, it's usually 67%.
Okay, and you're saying they're on point to make, sorry, the 700,000?
732.
That would be in coalition to last year's budget, which would be the 700. This year,
That's
there's
what
a
I
little
mean.
bit. Yes, correct.
Okay. And what, I guess the question is, to Mr. Zadelis, why are we projected for an extra $5,000? I'm just wondering. If we're on point, shouldn't we stay at 700?
Through the chair to the council, I think it's going to be this fiscal year above, slightly above 700,000. So, the 704,000, sorry, 732,000, which is really the 704, which is their program income. I think we're going to achieve that amount.
If I could add to that, remember, when I give you the percentages, I'm giving you the current year's budget.
Yeah.
I don't know what the assumptions are for moving forward if they do have an increase.
Yes, I do understand that. Thank you.
You all set? All right, thank you. I see Councilman Andahar.
Director, question. Is the equipment separate? Like the Zamboni and all that stuff over there?
The operation costs are borne by
Equipment and everything's
This
in
is
there.
all inclusive of operating the Zamboni.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions before I move on for the ice rink enterprise fund? I see none. If it doesn't bother anything, unfortunately, Council President Marino was unable to ask a question on the first item. She was called out for a moment. If no one objects, she just had a question on the workforce innovation.
Thank you. Thank you, Council Vice President Walt. Forgive me if I'm repeating. I apologize. I just had to go over to the door for a minute, but workforce innovation, that's also the workforce development. That's the one that we share with Providence, correct? Yep. Are we staffing that now? Are we not staffing that? And the funding source, that's all, sorry.
Through the chair to the council president, yes, we provide for staff members. This budget is for those 4 staff members. And the funding source, my understanding, and I'll confirm it with an email, that operation is grant funded through Providence. And as you were walking away, you've highlighted, our due diligence with grants. This is one that I don't know if the grant funding is subject, and I stated, to some actions from the federal government, and if reduced, our staffing would have to be reduced accordingly.
Okay. All right. In this case, we're going to move on to the rescue fund. Director Zales.
Okay, Mr. Chair, the rescue fund is in 2 components. As you may recall, Saturday, we did the revenues as part of general revenues on page 5. The expenses are on page 16. The expenses are pretty much broken into 2 components. One is account 53401, which is a category called, I think it's Medicaid expenses. If you can just let me to get to page 16. That will, there's a corresponding offsetting revenue that we discussed that day, which is 41521. So there's a debit and a credit in this budget of $1,000,001, which just offset each other. So that's not an issue. Then there's the billing expense, which I think I inferred to when we were talking about revenues, where we have a third-party billing, which at this point in time, I just carried forward last year's estimate for billing expenses to our third-party provider, Coronis.
Okay. Questions regarding the rescue fund? I am seeing none. Okay, so I'm going to move on. The next item would be economic development, I believe.
Mr. Chairman, the Economic Development Department, Department 1110, the revenues are on page 6, and there are no budgeted revenues being generated by the Economic Development Department. Their expenses are on page 13.
13. Okay. Look at that.
And with me is our Director of Economic Development, Franklin Viola, and he'd be the person to answer any questions you may have.
Franklin, would you like to say anything before we begin?
Yes, 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 I do. First of all, I apologize. I wasn't here on Saturday because I was taking care of my wife, so she's better sick, and also there was some Huh? Well, I was taking care of my wife on a Saturday, and there was a miscommunication, so I apologize. I'd just like to have a few minutes to talk a little bit about economic development, what I have done, and what we do for the city. First of all, the economic development is to secure new business and business that are established. Also, I work with to improve the city tax base, and also with the opportunity to its resident, which create job creation, and also the grant program they have. I like to go back to 2021 when we came into the administration, and we was in the middle of COVID. When I had the office, there was a grant program available because of COVID. And I worked with CDBG for community development, and there was a grant for 100,000, in which it was called personal protection equipment, which is PPE, and we serviced 100 business during COVID. Then there was another grant that came out that we did in our office for $65,123.40. That was another grant, which was for 2,575. Then we really was given to small business other grant. There were a lot of grants out there through the state. While I was working, there was a grant from the state, from Commons RI, for $250,000, which I applied for. I did the grant, and we serviced 29 business, giving them $10,000 for the outside work. I like also to say that I assist the operation, the administration with Mr. Hopkins. When this issue with all business, I'm the person that, for the business side, go out there and take care of. For example, when we have issue with the dumpster, with the garbage, they have it open. I go there and I speak with the business owner. And this is because I have a relationship, a governmental relationship with this business. Mr. Hopkins, in the first 2 years, he worked Patuxent Village. We did Ralphware and Knightsville. So all those businesses that are there, I will visit and give grant. We are talking about 300 business I have done in 4 years, giving them grants. I also have, with Ms. Haroyan, with the Safety Service Committee. There was some big issues with the small business, with the small business owner when they come to the city and they want to do business in the city. The process is lengthy and there's criterias and guidelines, and the service, the business clerk, they have to deal with waiting with the health department and the division's taxation. When I was doing the COVID, I had a representative from the health department and division of taxation. And this is one of the holdup I see when we go into safety committee. If we will have a representative at the health department and division of taxation, that time will be cut off. That's one of the things that I have. I also like to say that I work with the big business when they want to come into our city, especially I'm in the committee of the development plan review, in which is held every Wednesday. And I just like to say some of the big company that we are working with. For example, on Wellington Ave, there's a storage company coming in there. Western Industrial Lot, we have 20 Goddard Drive warehouse. That's where the old prison. I have been in meetings when they have been with the mayor. Also, I have worked for the past 2 years. There's a project at 747 Pontiac Avenue, which they going to be building 18, refixing 18 apartment. Those individuals and that developer, they have been 3 years in planning, building, inspection, and they finally got that. We worked from day one with those individuals, myself. Also, we have Achievement First. That's a school that's right on Garfield School. We help them. They spend in planning and building almost 2 years. We work with them. We're also working on Brood Awakening that they're going to be on Oakland Avenue. There's Charlie Hills, Comstock Industrial Parkway, which we've been working with them for 3 years. That's on the go. That's on the project. And Cranston Paint Work. And also, I was with the mayor with the Garden City Elementary School during the planning process. Gladstone. We did have a brewery in Rough Square. They have some issues, so they pulled out. And we are working with another restaurant that might be going in there. Also, we did a miniature casking. They have like around 45 employees, and then we have done a tax incentive for them. And then we do have the Sanders School. There was a Sanders School there. I did work on that project. And right now, that school is demolished and 4 brand new house almost finished by July. We also have I've been working with Taco Warehouse. They do have a tax incentive with us, and it's going to be finishing like in 1 year, but they will be doing an expansion, so they'll probably get a tax incentive for that. We did also help Tasca Chevy. And lastly, we have the trolley bond. I like to say that I think I have built a great relationship with all those business owners. Right now, the project that we will be launching is the ARPA fund that the council approved to the mayor of I believe $200. And we're going to be working that, and we will be giving those small business $1,000, which I'm going to have to be working with 200 business. And those are the business that are from Reservoir Avenue and Park and all the way up to Phoenix and Atwood, and also Cranston Street. So that area, Knightsville, we're going to be working with them. So Ward 2 and 3 and 4 I would encourage those members there in the citywide council, if they like to go with me and walk to the business and tell them we have the grant because of what happened with the construction that was there. We did get a lot of complaints regarding that. In the business, they have financial loss. The access to the service, it was impeding, and the instant obstruction was there, and they faced a lot of service challenges. So the mayor had those $200,000, and that's what we're gonna be doing on that. If you like, we could go to the budget and see the salary. I'm a one-person individual. I have told you what I'm doing by myself. I did have an assistant, which she was there like for 25 years. She was doing everything in the beginning, and then they just cut the budget. They cut the budget, I believe like 58,000 in one shot, just on her salary. I was wind up by myself in the middle of COVID and doing all these grants. And I was doing the grant myself and going after Commissary and all the grant that they have, I would tell all the business to go. There were multiple rounds of grant. For example, the ventilation grant, it was $10,000. That was for the air conditioning and all that. Now they have another grant, which is technical assistant. I provide all the business in Cranston to apply for those grants. I believe I leveraged a lot with just the one that we had, which was to take it outside, which we had it in Cranston in our office. I didn't have to go to Commissary, give $10,000. I had that in Cranston, and I told we did the marketing, and the people apply. And as you can go to, for example, Patuxent Village, you'll see it. You could see it in Knightsville also, and Ralph Square. So on this salary schedule, I see what you have. Overtime. They don't want to give me overtime. I mean, on the weekends, we have ribbon cutting. I do 2 hours, 3 hours with the mayor. And also at nighttime after work. Sometime I'm doing a grant program. The business are closed. I have to go after work. That's one. So, and this one that's coming up on this grant, I have to work in the afternoon after work, going to business, because some of the restaurant, they open after 4. And, I have to tell them about it, because most of the thing I do with small business is I do my things face to face. I walk. I do Patuxent Village. I do Ralph Square. I do Knightsville. I do Park Ave. And that's how I build the relationship. And I also in Plainfield Pike in Western Cranston. So that's what I have. I have office expense. They giving me $750. I normally share my office expense with the office of the mayor. But I need, before it was double of this amount. The Chamber of Commerce, there's no chamber, so I belong to the Rotary Club and also the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, so that I could be another association. I need marketing. If I'm gonna have this grant program, I do it myself sometime, but we need outside consulting sometime, and I utilize the communication director. They have the website, and we had the Cranston Herald and magazine or social media and program activity. We work with the mayor when we have event and workshop and that. So I urge for this budget.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Polino.
Yes.
Before I open up the floor, and I do appreciate the, the description of the building relationships that you've built with the businesses. I do.
Mhm.
I'll tell you as a councilman and someone who sits on the Safety Services Committee,
Mhm.
something I'm seeing for quite often. And
Yes.
people will come many times without their paperwork, without knowledge of what paperwork is necessary, almost. I'm not sure if that's your area, but I would think somewhere in the office, that would be very helpful. Maybe sometimes they're new business people, and sometimes maybe they have a problem with the language.
Yeah.
I think you could be a real asset in that, and I don't see that, and maybe I'm missing something.
Yeah.
But, I'm seeing that a lot, and
Mhm.
there's a lot of time, and and a lot of money,
Yeah.
money being lost there because people, their business, their time is money.
Yes.
Could you speak to that?
Mhm. Yeah, we have a huge bad issue with new business coming into the city of Cranston. The process of the business coming in is tedious, and sometimes they don't know how to navigate with all the department. I have worked with many business because the governmental relationship that I have with them, with the grant program, I have walked many business. I have spent 1 year just trying to get a business open. Many business like that and they just, they just need to educate them, and they need to have a person or a department that can work with them, because now a lot of the things everything is in the computers on the portal. We do not have a one-on-one. When I see in safety service that they have the meeting, I normally look at, at the sheet. Sometime I don't go, sometime I watch it on YouTube. I don't watch it that much, but I see those business and I feel for them. So I do call them, I do go visit them. And then I try to work with them, and I try to explain to them the process of trying to open a business. And it's just, people, they want to a business in Cranston, right now, if you go there, if you see like empty building and empty space listing, they just take it. They just, even before they know that there's a process with zoning and all that, they signed the lease. We had a gentleman that signed the lease, and he had to back up because he cannot put that business in that place. So, if I see a business, for example, Mr. Roy, and she's constantly, she calls me and tells me, Franklin, help this business, what's the process? There is a process that they have to do, and it's a process that would take, it's money and time. Money is involved, and a lot of these individuals, they need like a business specialist or attorney to do the whole process for them. But they just come in, they want to be in Cranston, and that's how it is.
I see. Thank you. All right, I'm going to open up for questions. I'm going to go to the council president first.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Director Polino.
Yes.
When this agenda item was heard on the 12th, I had a question relative to the revenue showing as zero for this fiscal year, and yet we know that your department has different funding available for the grants, whether it's the ARPA, and I don't know if there's additional sources of revenue. So where exactly is that being accounted for?
Through the chair to the council president, the ARPA is being accounted for as a deferred revenue in the general fund. It's not getting picked up as revenue supporting the general fund operations. The other grants, I think I don't know if I did. As Mr. Polino said, part of his grants were block grant, so they would be in Mr. Thomas Ciello's program, and the other ARPA grants were accounted for outside the general fund, where I think it was direct payments were being made to recipients for. So None of them flowed through the general fund budget.
So just so we're clear, there is no other grant funding other than the ones that have already been identified that are flowing through economic
Just
development.
The small business loan,
Yeah, just.
but that's an off.
That actually was I
The
was
one,
gonna
yeah.
ask you about, I have heard about loans being
The
administered.
revolving loan
And
fund.
is that coming through your department? And if so, where is that being accounted for?
Yes, the revolving loan.
Yeah, it's a special revenue fund. I can get you the, you have it?
Oh, yes, I have it.
Yeah, no,
Yes, the revolving loan, as of today, we have $2,000,000, $87,509.24. That's our total, that's our total loan account or asset. Our outstanding and current amount is $232,891.54. And that item right there, those are three default loans that we have, and one current loan, which is 185,000 is a current loan. There's only one active loan in the revolving loan fund. And the total cash on the hand that we have is $1,854,617 with 70 cents. That's what we have on our revolving loan. I'd like to add also that when I came into the administration, there was 6 loans that are on default. I have resolved 3 loans with the individual that they were there. Those loans were on default like for 4 years. And I recouped 3 of those loans. I do have 3 loans that are on default in which are in the legal department.
through the chair to the counselor, if I just may, tomorrow I'll get you the exact special revenue account and the, if I brought the balance sheet from February, which I didn't, I could point right to the special revenue account where that activity is processed. But all activity goes back to the revolving. So if you could do it, I can chime in if you have a. Yeah, no, keep. Yes, please. Madam Chair, it's Fund 302, which is the Economic Development Revolving Loan Fund on the monthly report, which is provided to council.
Thank you. I, perhaps the next regularly scheduled finance committee meeting, I anticipate I'll likely have an agenda item relative to this.
Yep.
Because I think that it behooves everyone to have a good understanding of how these funds are being dispersed, the criteria for them, you know, the defaults, how that's being accounted for, because we're talking substantial funds. In addition to that, I'll be honest, there's been chatter from outside of the council relative to inquiry. And so I would like to dispel some of the concern about, you know, how that money is being administered. Thank you.
Can I add something to it? Yes, on the revolving loan fund, there's a committee there of 7 members, in which we have 2 lawyers, we have 3 bankers, and a member of the business community. And the chairperson of that is Rob Poop. What I basically do in my office is I collect all the information. I do the loan package. There is a checklist that they must have. And even before I take it to the committee, we have to review it. And they are the one, I just present all the documentation, and they are the one that make the decision. It's a 7 board member committee. I could give you the name of them, of the people that are there. When I took office, they were there. I think we only have one, there was one that retired. There was a banker that retired. And we have a new one. We replaced it with a banker. So it's what I do is I just service the loan service, and then they'll go. And I may add, in order for the economic development director to take a loan, they have to have a collateral. We will not do a loan if we don't have the collateral. When I say collateral, they have to have 80% of the equity on that business. And also, the city will not take a third position on these loans. We either take a first position or second position. I have had business that, you know, we did, for example, we did a loan. I tried to do a loan for $100,000. Then the individual, you know, these days they refinance the house and they have equity. They refinance it and they have the first mortgage and they have the second mortgage. And then when we will go be a third mortgage, we won't do it because it will be hard if they default or they go bankruptcy, the city will not collect. And I only have done one loan, and I only have one current loan. I have done like 4 or 5, but the committee has rejected them.
Thank you, Director. So I'm going to open up the floor to questions, looking for hands. Anybody has questions regarding the economic development? I see, oh, no, I don't. I see Councilwoman Haroyan.
Hello.
How you doing, Mr. Horan?
Good. Something's broken here with economic development, I feel.
Mhm.
Plain, flat. A business is trying to open. The first encounter shouldn't be at my safety services. And then us ask you as a council member to please follow up with them. I feel like when they apply for the licenses, somebody should be working with them in advance so that they know exactly what licenses they need to get. Maybe property owners need to be educated on what they're zoned for before they rent it out to businesses. I'm feeling very bad for people trying to come before safety services, standing there like a deer in a headlight. Oh, I need to get Department of Health. Oh, I need to get taxation. I'm pretty sure every state government agency has somebody assigned to work with municipality and government workers. We should have a direct line there. We shouldn't be having these people come before us without this paperwork fully done and understanding and help.
Okay, ma'am, remember, I'm only one person there. We have hundreds of business individuals that want to come into the city. I wish that before they want to do a business, they will come for example, to myself, because I will help them. I will walk them through the whole process, even before they even think about opening a business in Cranston, because it is difficult. I mean, going through zoning, going through building inspection, it is a process. You cannot just say, if you see like an empty space, and then you just want to go in there with just, I'm going to be doing a business. They have dreams, and, I wish they could come and sit in. A lot of individuals, I see them in safety service. I used to go to the meeting, and when they leave, I feel for them. I
Right.
say, come with me. I want fun. We are working, as you know, we are working with a gentleman in Reservoir Avenue. He wants to be in that place because his house is nearby there. But, there's no parking. There's no parking for that business. We have done everything. We've been working 7 months with that individual. I have been working with that individual, and we have done everything to see how he's going to get into that business. But, do they need education? Can they come to my department? Remember, I'm only one person. I have helped hundreds of business, and I could help them, navigate through the whole process, dealing with planning, dealing with zoning, dealing with building inspection. I do have a relationship with all the directors in those departments. And sometimes we need to expedite because, I have to do a ribbon cutting. I have to do opening, So I will have to work with them and, to see the business clerk to see where they are. Also work with building inspection to see, how many open permits they have.
Right.
And I will talk to the director and say, listen, this business needs to open, so.
Is there a computer system you can go into to see what a business has for open permits at any given time in your day?
Yes, there is, you could go in there and you could see the open permit. For example, we were working on the bakery. They have 8 open permit, but they could close those permit in one day. If, let's say the general contractor does everything, that permit can be closed. We can see it, the building department has it. I don't know if, maybe you could have access to it and you could see it. For example, if you're the chairman of the safety service, you could talk and see if they give you, so you could see it on the portal, which are the open permit. But if you want to see the open permit, you just go to building inspection and you see it. I have access to it. So I know.
I don't think we should. I'd be using all my time to help them when I wasn't at my full-time job.
Mhm.
But I just feel like something isn't working
Yeah.
properly.
It's not working, and it was not working before we got here. The only thing I can say is, if you have a business you want, come see my office, come see myself. Well, how are they gonna see myself before they're,
Right.
I'm willing to work, and that's what I do. In terms of securing new business and having business in Cranston.
So you're saying there's about 150 to 200 businesses that want to open in Cranston? Did I
Well,
hear that correct?
No. We don't know how many business they want to come in. We don't know how many open space we have, commercial space.
Okay,
But I can tell you one thing, if there is a place that's open that a business, goes away, another one will come right out, especially in Ward 1, 2, and 3. They'll come in right away. I had a lady that, there was a salon and the lady, she said, I'm not gonna do this. And then the next day, there was a new salon in there. So the feeling is there.
thank you.
You're welcome.
And did I see Councilman Bonanno? I'm going to recognize you now.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Director Paulino, for being here.
Yes.
So it was a little while ago now that all of us were campaigning,
Mhm.
and I'd never campaigned before for myself. And one of the things that we hear from constituents that live in their houses, especially older folks, is, nobody wants their taxes to increase. Nobody wants their taxes to increase. And you know what? As a city council, I could say that, I would say all of us here, including the mayor, uses a tax increase as a last resort. With that being said, how does a city or town, whether it's Cranston, Warwick, Wichita, how do they increase revenue without increasing property tax?
Oh,
This is a rhetorical question.
um,
Okay, this is a rhetorical question. I don't expect for you to answer it. But my answer would be economic development. Okay, economic development, taking advantage of the space we have, okay, to remove some of the burden from the residential property taxpayer.
okay, let me, just like you said, like open land, for example, we had the trolley barn on 777 Cranston Street, right on the border. When we want to see business like that come in, because when we build a building on an empty lot, we have, for example, also Top Golf.
Right.
We need to market our city and make it safe, and that's what it is.
So
Mhm.
I agree with you. I agree with you. And those are, especially the trolley barn and the Chapel View area, those are going to attract bigger businesses. Okay, we're not putting Top Golf, for instance, in Knightsville.
No,
We're not
you
putting-
don't have a space there.
We're not putting a Sonic in Edgewood Village.
No.
Okay, or Patuxent Village, I should say.
Mhm.
Okay, so, but there are tons of businesses in Knightsville, and there are tons of businesses in Patuxent Village, and there are tons of businesses in Rolf Square, and those are just happen to be the areas that the mayor has focused on. There's a ton more of those areas in our city. The reason I'm
Mhm.
saying this is, if I, right, as Joe citizen, want to start a small business, there's not a lot online, okay, for them to
Mhm.
utilize. As far as this is what you need to open a barber shop. This is what you need to open a fruit store, fruit stand. This is what you need to open a restaurant. All right. And this is where you can put them. You have to search and search and search. And the reason why I know this, I was chairman of the zoning board for 4 years and on it for 7. And even I had trouble as an educated consumer of that information, finding out what could go where without a variance when someone asked me. So if I'm having trouble as a zoning board member and a future council person who pays attention to this type of thing, how do you think that average business owner feels?
Well, they'll feel very bad, but they have to do their due diligence. They have to, there's a checklist, you should have a checklist to see how you're gonna put
My
a
question would
business.
be, where
And
would
they
that
could
checklist-
just go to zoning, they will go to zoning, building inspection, and they will tell them, they could come to my department, and I'll tell you, listen, you're gonna have some issue with a non-conforming going into that place. I had numerous business coming in, and they want to be in a place, for example, in Niceville.
Mhm.
And they, the first thing, they will need a zoning certificate. And for the zoning certificate, sometimes they will need a lawyer to go in front of them.
No, yes,
Mm.
absolutely.
And that's,
well aware of that.
and
So-
that costs money.
Yes, it does. So my challenge, I'm gonna promise you something,
Mhm.
okay? If you can come back whenever,
Mhm.
after the budget's done at some point, and say to us as a collective unit, I put this information online, so somebody can type in, I want to open
Mhm.
barbershop. I want you to streamline, or I would love for somebody to streamline some of the zoning code. And the top 10 most popular businesses that go in Cranston, they can find out how to open them online,
Yes.
okay? Or if somebody's old school, I don't want to talk
Mhm.
about my colleague,
Mhm.
councilman, mayor, school committeeman, Trafficani. But if somebody's old school and has a big pile of notes like this and doesn't want to go online and get it, right? You can hand them something.
Yeah.
You want to open a barber shop? Here's your
Yeah.
10 steps. If you can show me that, come back to this council and I will put forth a resolution to increase your salary.
Okay, now I could do that. That's no problem. But
But
I have something.
I want it pretty comprehensive. I don't
Yeah,
know that I'll pass.
I'll do it.
All right, but I will sponsor that.
Okay, as you know, I wrote that grant and I got 250,000. So this one is just gonna be,
I'm telling you,
yeah, it'll be done.
I mean, I said this on the record, so I'll do it. However,
Mhm. I need my
part
marketing
of-
increase
part of-
also.
part of what part of my goals when I got elected was to streamline the process of
Mhm.
opening up a business
Yeah.
because of the fact that we can only have so much growth in Cranston if we rely on property taxes for residences. So that the Office of Economic Development is where it's at. It's
Yes.
got to be it's got to be the most successful and the
Mhm.
most thriving and the busiest part of our city.
Yes.
And it's got to be proactive in getting businesses to Cranston as
Mhm.
opposed to reactive.
Yes.
So really, I understand that, you're building this up from, and I don't disagree that, it's needed for many, many years.
Mr.
But
Bonanno.
it's got to really get going.
Yeah.
You got to get some traction.
I have worked on all that, but it's only myself there. If I would have had someone, like even a part-time individual, right now I'm working with an intern, he's helping me. But if I would have someone there, like I had my assistant, Marsha, she was there and believe me, they just took her away, and then I was there by myself. In the middle of COVID, they just said, she's, and she was running the whole economic development while I was out there, doing all this.
I would say if, and again,
I know.
if somebody can come to us and say, listen, the work that this office has done has generated X amount in tax dollars, more than it would have, at status quo, then
Mhm.
hey, you got an argument. At this point, I don't know, I really don't know that you can make that argument.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'm sorry, didn't want to cut you
No,
off,
I'm all set.
Councilman. Yeah.
Mhm.
The chair wants to recognize Councilman Trafficani.
Franklin,
Yes.
stop crying poverty.
What was that?
You stop crying poverty. You accepted that job as an economic development director. If you are understaffed, then if you have the obligation to go talk to the mayor, talk to Mr. Moretti to get assistance. If you haven't done that.
I have. I did it last year.
Well, you haven't done that for the last 5 years, then shame on you. Shame on you.
I asked for my staff. I asked for last year, the year before that and the year after, and now.
Then you
I'm
should tell
asking
them
for
that
the staff.
you should tell them that you're overworked and you need help. That's what the mayor's for. That's what the director of administration is for. To tell them what you need, and they should resolve that through the budgetary process. So stop talking about you're all alone and you're overworked. You accepted the job, so do the job. That's number one. I got a couple of questions. May I continue, Mr. Chairman? I agree with the council president that we should have a special meeting to talk about the ARPA funds and the revolving loan fund. I'd like to know myself what's in the revolving loan fund. Why isn't, I know ARPA funds are designated, for example, to recreation, to public works, the fire, police. How come it's not identified in this budget also as designated economic development monies?
Through the chair to the counselor, to the mayor's point, we kept those funds segregated outside the general fund, consistent with the fact that we have to spend it on those specific purposes, and B, in compliance with the settlement agreement. So we have a full accounting of all the ARPA funds, where they are, and at any point in time, we could give you year-to-date or to-date reports. So it's not in the general fund. Matter of fact, it's split up between a couple of funds. So, Mr. Mayor, we can at any point in time get you that information, but it's not going to flow through the general
I
fund, sir.
understand it's a separate fund, but how much is designated for economic development direct? Just
For economic, it's 200,000.
200,000.
And it
Is
was,
that revolving loan monies or is that?
no,
just a grant?
that's
Is that a
opera.
grant?
I'm sorry for interrupting you, Mr. Mayor, through the chairman. 200,000 for, I think we labeled it small business grants.
Grants, okay.
And what ended up evolving into mitigation fund tied to the Park Ave project for businesses which were disrupted through that reconstruction project, the paving of Park Ave.
I'm a little confused.
Okay, 200,000 is a small business grant.
Right, yes.
So that money is,
How is it disrupted?
you want to describe the?
The business, well, for like 3 years, they were working on the Knightsville project, phase 1, phase 2, which they work on Cranston Street, where they did the sidewalk and the paving on the street. The business, they have financial loss because there was a lot of complaint that the clients, they couldn't get into their business. And it was continuously. We had the water department working there, the gas department and all that,
I understand that.
but there was some business interruption in those areas.
So is the $200,000 designated just for Knightsville?
No, it's designated from Reservoir and Park all the way up to that street park, all the way up to Phoenix and Atwood. And then we took from Oakland Ave and Cranston Street all the way up to Dyer Street. You know, those where, the work was done.
I think we should, when the council president has a special meeting, that this should be all cleared up and designated. I know there are a lot of small business members on the Rotary Club. Are you a member of the Rotary Club?
Yes, I am.
Do you go to regular meetings?
Yes, I do.
No, you don't. No, you do not.
Well, I will.
Rotary Club, you do not. All right, and that's number one. Number two,
Mhm.
Cranston's been a member of the Cranston Providence Workforce Development Board,
Yes.
all right, for a number of years.
Mhm.
Do you attend those meetings?
Yes, I attend meetings.
You sure you do?
Yeah, I missed a couple of meetings. I have.
I'm a member of that board as well.
I am. And I've been in those meetings. I haven't seen you either.
I attend a lot more meetings than you do, I can
Huh?
tell you that.
I don't think so.
Yeah, no, okay.
Mhm.
You mentioned at the very beginning, $1,000 that the mayor gives to businesses. You clarify that. I didn't quite understand that.
In the beginning, on the PPE loan, there was the program during COVID, and it was called personal protection equipment, and that was when the individuals, they would buy masks, plexiglass, and all that. And there was money from the federal government, from the community development, and we did it through our department. I did that whole project. You know, and it was it was a limit of $1,000 per business, and they have to have the receipt. If they didn't have the receipt with the documentation, they will not get that grant. In order for you to get that grant during COVID, you had to have those documentation. So a lot of the business did not. Some were cash business and they didn't have receipt. So you're probably gonna hear complaint, oh, I didn't get any grants. Well, one of the reasons is they didn't have their documentation. And, they had to have those documentation in order to get the grant. They have to pay those.
And what grant does that money come from?
That one came from the CDBG, from Community Development.
And that was during the COVID era?
Yeah, that was in the core area.
All right, that money's dried up by now, I assume.
Oh, yeah, it was dried up like right away.
When CDBG came before this board, I asked the CDD director that, is there any money put aside for economic development? And he said he would arrange to get some money for economic development director, approximately $50,000. He said, however, you cannot utilize that money until you approach him with a purpose for that money. Have you done that?
I spoke with Thomas Heller. I didn't know about it. He did tell me. He did mention, probably use the $50,000 to do like microloan, help small business, maybe with a revolving loan on that community development. $5,000 loan, $3,000 loan if you want to do it. But I'm gonna ask you to do a microloan program and do it in economic development. I don't want to be a crybaby saying I cannot do it. For me, I could do it, but again, you put in more work on myself. I don't want to be a crybaby. I can do it. But again, doing a microloan program, if I could go out to the state and I could come in and bring $300,000 and do a microloan program, and then I could get community development. If Ernie wants to do $50,000, we combine that. But, to do a microloan program, you have to deal with, with this business person collecting money,
I understand, it'd be like a 3 or 5% revolving loan fund. I understand that.
Trav, can I
But in
interrupt?
order
one-
to promote economic development, it's your job again. It's
Yeah, but
part of your
that's my job. I know
obligations.
it's my job. But
Let me just interrupt one
You're putting
moment,
more
'cause-
program on top of myself.
Director, please, for a
Yes.
moment. Let me just interrupt because I want to let the auditor actually weigh in regarding the revolving loan. Is that,
Actually, with reference to the opera funds. So in the current February statements, account number 52753, program activities, it currently has $200,000. Is that part of the lending that came over from the administration for APA that they were going to give $1,000 per person? Because it is reflected in the current statements. Because the category is running at $2,000 currently now, which is 40,000% over budget because it's only budgeted for $500.
Through the chair to the auditor, are you picking up on an expense? And what that is, yes, if that's it getting moved out to, yeah, that's getting moved out to a separate fund to do that. So that's recognizing us passing the APA funds to the account it's resident in. So yes, so we haven't spent the funds. That's an accounting entry to where the funds ended up.
thank you, auditor. Councilman Trafficani, I'm sorry, I thought we had something.
No problem at all.
You still have the floor.
Franklin, I realize you're short in personnel, but have you ever thought about establishing a small business roundtable consisting of a variety of different people throughout the city of Cranston, which could assist you, by the way, and act as mentors to people that want to come into the city of Cranston to establish a business? Have you thought of that?
Yes, during COVID, I work with the governor. We did,
I'm talking like Cranston Small Business Roundtable.
yeah, I have done small business roundtable. Sometimes we get together, in the beginning, there was a small business advisory board. We did one meeting, but we didn't have a quorum. Every time we want to meet, it was hectic trying to get all those individuals there. We did, in the beginning with the mayor, we did meet with the small business in Ralph Square. We have met with the small business also in Knightsville, and we have met with small business in Patuxent Village.
Is it a permanent roundtable meeting that you meet on a regular basis each and every month to talk about the business climate in Cranston, to help those people that want to come into Cranston to mentor a new business?
Yeah, we were looking into with the chambers, the Chamber of Commerce. We have some individuals that have tried to do the Chamber of Commerce, but they haven't been able. I do have all the guidelines and all the members, but there's just a person that needs, like, for example, the Chamber of Commerce, the Chamber of Cranston. We are looking for, the mayor has worked trying to see if we could have the Chamber of Cranston in. but
Well,
those individuals is,
We always had a strong Chamber of Commerce in Cranston. I don't know why it disappeared, but it'll be wise to try to reestablish that, or a small business roundtable.
Yes.
Either one. I agree with Mrs. Haroyan. I was witness to at the last Safety Services meeting. There were a number of people there who are trying to establish a business in Cranston and struggling
yeah,
through the process. And I know you can't reach out to every single one of them, but it would be wise of you, when you know they're registering to try to start a business in Cranston, to pick up the phone and just call them and identify who you are and what your obligation is to them. That way they know they have an economic development department in the city of Cranston, because many of them do not
Yeah.
know.
I do. I do those things, and I go and I see the business. I'm involved with them because I know them from previous with the grant program. And then those are the ones that are there. The new one, I see them in safety service and I pick them up and I give them my card. And I say, I'm gonna walk you through the whole process. The one that I can get in touch with.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
And I think right now we're moving kind of away from budgetary questions and more operational questions.
I'm through,
And-
Mr. Chairman. Thank
And I
you.
think that meeting we discussed, maybe another finance committee, where we get together and have discussed some of these operational things. I think would be a fine time for that. I'm going to recognize Councilman Ritz.
I was just back to the mark, Councilman, your microphone's off. In regards to the budget with the marketing line item, to me, it's $0 in the marketing. I don't have any money.
No,
And you touched on it a little bit. Wouldn't we need money in that to reach out, to bring in business? You talked about how when they come to you and how you connect with them, but to bring in businesses from outside of Cranston to draw them there. I'm just saying, shouldn't we have some money in that account to have marketing material to bring in?
yes, I don't know why they have a zero account. Like, for example, Mr. Bonanno wants his project done. We have Mr. Trafficante, he wants also done, and that takes marketing to go out there and do, those business quorum. And, we have, maybe we do social media, to attract more. Maybe if I have, I could bring in a community manager to, and also we do have a communication director that works with that. So.
I don't have past budgets in that. In past budgets, did we have money in that marketing fund?
Yes, there was one time, they had like 7,500, but that was like for the tourism, to market, the whole city with the restaurant business and that bill.
Just never used, and that's why it.
Yeah, it was, yeah. Mhm.
Thank you.
Since 2012.
Any more questions, Councilman? No. Okay. All right, looking around, I'm looking for some more hands regarding economic development. I'm going to recognize Councilman Andahar.
Mr. Paulino,
Yes.
well, thank you for your service to the city. I mean, I know you're by yourself in there, but you have a lot of experience, correct?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so I mean, right now, from what you said earlier, that the city takes a first position when they give out loans. That's correct?
Well, we will take a first position if there's a first position.
Okay,
But if there's a second position on the loan, we will not take a third position.
so we should have 4 properties because you said there were 7 loans and 4 in default or 3 are in default.
What was that?
We should have 3 or 4 properties because you said the city takes first position, and if they're defaulted right now, we should be foreclosing on them, correct?
Yes.
And we are.
They're in legal department because those loans default, they're in legal. They will before I. We only have one active loan in which we have 2 secure property in that, and we have a second position on those.
Okay, and I'm pretty sure you could bring this body a list of any applications or any businesses, big businesses that want to come into the city. I want to say from September of 24 to this date. You could provide that to us, correct?
What was that?
You could provide a list of all big businesses or businesses that want to come into the city of Cranston, for whatever reason, you could provide that list to us, correct?
Well, that will be at the business clerk that, that's when they apply at the business clerk. You know,
Director, are you able to provide that list to us?
no,
No?
I have a list of all the business that are in the city of Cranston. But
Hold on, you've referred to the clerk, Director. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The clerk's office would have no way of knowing what businesses were interested in coming to Cranston or, what businesses would be interested in coming to Cranston. The only way we would know is if they were actually applying for a license.
Oh, you asking about new business?
So I
Yes,
believe the
business,
councilman's
business.
question was businesses that were interested in coming
Yes,
in
yes.
into
Oh.
Cranston, not businesses that have applied for applications.
There are some business that ask to come to Cranston. If they call my department and I know about it, yes.
You'd be able to provide us a list?
Yes.
One
Okay.
of, Mr. Chair, one of the reasons why I asked that question is because I've been to 3 of the 4 planning meetings, 3 of the 4 zoning meetings, and I have yet to see you there. It
First
just,
of all, I'm not in those meetings.
no, I understand that, but you said that you work hand in hand and that you attend these meetings because you want to help the businesses.
Yeah,
And-
I'm in the planning meeting, the first meeting that they have. I mean, that's
Okay.
the meeting that we, and.
So, and I know this is an operation question, but so I come into Cranston, I want to open up a box store. I get denied at zoning and planning, and then I go to you, or do I go to you first? That's one of my questions.
Well, you should probably go to my office.
Okay.
And, I will explain it. Listen, if you go to the board, the zoning board, first of all, do not sign a lease. Because you don't know what's gonna happen on zoning board. And if you're gonna go to the zoning board, one of the things that you should go with a lawyer. Because if you get denied, you're gonna have to go into the court and you're gonna have a lawyer,
So the next question I would have is, and I'm probably speaking for a lot of people, how do you justify your salary? How do you justify your position? Do you work for an individual? Do you work for an office, or do you work for the whole city? That's the
I work
question.
for the whole city.
Okay, because just on social media alone, I've seen 6 ribbon cuttings, and I have yet to see anyone from this body attend any of those ribbon cuttings. When
Uh,
I've personally helped 2 of them.
Okay, on that matter, you're gonna have to speak with
Okay.
our chief, Anthony Moretti.
Okay, the next question is,
Mhm.
or I should say, the next comment I should say, I want you to, do you respect this body on this side of this table?
Yes, I do.
Because we've been in office the last 120 days.
Mhm.
And I have yet to see, and I hope my colleagues here could raise their hand, if you have sat with any of us to say, hey, this is what's going on in your ward, this is what I want to help you. What are you hearing from your constituents? What are you hearing from the business community?
Okay, first of all, I will urge, I did this in 2021. I will urge each member of this committee in the ward to please, if I have a grant, to please walk with me. I did it back then. Listen, I have a grant. I want to walk with you in that ward. Please come, tell your constituent, tell your business owner that we have a grant. I have no problem.
So that means, for
I
me
mean,
talking
like-
about Ward 3,
Huh?
I'll let you finish.
Okay, and what, for example, in the new grant that's coming, is involved Ward 2, 3, and 4, I had a plan. I would invite Horoyan. I will invite you to walk in Ward 3. I will invite Mr. Trafficante to walk in Ward 3, and also the citywide. So you could see, what the business persons are saying. I don't mind. I
The
did it
question
back
is,
then.
how do we get that invitation if you don't come to us? So you're telling us we have to go to you? Is that what you're
Well,
saying?
If you have to come to me, you come to me, and if I have to go to you, I go to you.
Okay,
Mhm.
so just for the record, we have to go to you because you're not going to communicate with
No, no, I
us.
will communicate, but there's a communication that is a protocol that before I speak with, the council, it has to go through the chief of staff and the chief of staff.
Okay, so you work for an office, not for the city,
I work for the city and the office and administration and the council.
but you just said you have to check with a chain of command.
Yes, I do.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to reserve my questions for the next meeting. I think that I should reserve that for those questions for that meeting, but I do want to thank Mr. Paulino for his service to the city. And that's about it. So thank you very much, Mr. Paulino.
Thank you, Councilman.
Mhm.
Any other questions regarding economic development for Mr. Polino? I don't believe I see any hands. Just before I let you go, I did have a question regarding the revolving loan fund committee,
Yes.
and I'm not really familiar with it.
Mhm.
Two questions, maybe it's more of a two.
Yes.
How frequently does it meet? It's the one with 7 members,
Mhm.
right? How frequently does it meet? And when was the last meeting of this committee?
The last meeting was the last loan that we did, which was last year. And I am working now with 2 loans that are coming in, pre-loans. So we should be having a meeting within the next month.
So I'm going to just ask maybe I didn't phrase it. What was the date on that last meeting? When was it? Approximately, you don't have to give it to
It
me.
was December of 24, I believe. Oh, no, 23.
So over a year and 103 days, approximately, is that about?
Well, we met because there was a loan that was coming in, but let me give you a little thing.
I
with
think
the-
I'm hearing you. I don't want to
Oh,
belabor the point.
Yeah,
It sounds like you only meet when there's a loan. Is that
Yes,
correct?
uh-huh,
Or
yes,
a
correct.
loan application? Is that, and you're saying there is one coming and that was
there's
the last loan?
2.
Two
Well,
coming.
there's one coming. There's 2 loans that are coming in, so there will be one meeting.
And the last one was December of 2023.
Yes.
You answered my question.
Mhm.
Okay. Any other questions regarding economic development? I'm going to recognize Councilman Trafficante.
Speaking about the loan,
Yes.
basically a revolving loan is to help those businesses and startup costs. I mean, how do they know a loan exists out there? That's what I'm trying to say, or a revolving loan exists.
Uh,
How do they know that?
Well, we have it on the website. And I also, when I'm out there, I tell them, listen, we have a loan, and it's up.
I'm glad you said that.
Mhm.
That's what I want to emphasize again, as Mrs. Haroyan pointed out. When they register, when they start their business process,
Mhm.
the approval process, it
Yeah.
would be wonderful to get a call from you to tell them this,
Yes.
that we have a revolving loan, all right, that will help you with startup costs.
Yeah.
And the procedure is A, B, C, and D.
Mhm.
That's the emphasis.
And that's what I do when I see them. I tell them, well, in safety service, when I see that they applying for the license, I tell them, we have a revolving loan. You can get this loan. It's 5%. And you could get up to 200,000, you could get 100,000. And, but sometimes they just fade away from the loan, the small business that I deal with, there was a time it was, they were just looking for grants.
Well, you have money for grants as well, so introduce them to the grants as
Yeah,
well.
we introduced it to the grant. How you think, I go so quickly with those grants? It's just like, for example, the mitigation grant that's coming up, that's 200 business. They wanted to do and finish in 2026. I probably finish that this year, because when you go out there and you give free money, they will talk, and all those grant person, all those 200 they will talk and they will come immediately.
How many small business loans do you have out there right now?
I have one active.
One
active.
How many grants are active?
At the moment, there's no grant available, but we will be launching the mitigation grant within the next 2 or 3 weeks.
You just made my point. You said one.
Huh? No. We have one loan in the revolving loan.
I asked you, how many exist at the present time?
There's only one exists.
One business.
Yeah, one loan for a business.
I don't think you understand my question. we have businesses in Cranston. How
Yes.
many of them are now utilizing the revolving loan fund money?
There's only one. There's only one loan that we have out there.
One, okay.
Yeah,
What
and we
business?
have we have 3 defaulted loan. They're on default, they're on legal. We only have one loan. Mhm.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna get Councilman Bonanno, and then I believe I'm going back to Councilman Andujar.
I think quickly, Councilman Trafficani's point is of all the businesses in Cranston, there's only one. And maybe there were 5 and a couple of people defaulted, and still all the businesses in Cranston at best are only 5. So that's Councilman Trafficani's point, as I understand it, if it wasn't getting across. That's all I had to say.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Andujar.
Mr. Paulino, you keep on bringing the safety services, and with all respect to Councilwoman Haroyan, Lam and Rolf Square, have they approached you for any business loans or any revolving loans or any help at all?
What was that? What was it?
Lam.
Hold on, Councilman. They're not in the agenda this evening,
Okay.
so I'm sorry.
Who's fine?
Okay, so let me, there was a-
General statement, but.
there was a business in Ralph Square that came to a safety services meeting that
Mhm.
stated they are about to spend $7 million on a building. I wanted to know if there's any chance you visited that business or talked to those people, because that's a pretty big number and a pretty big investment for somebody to come into a safety services meeting and make that kind of statement.
I don't know what's the business.
I think.
I only say that because you were there, so I understand, but I'll save my questions for committee.
I think when we put it on the agenda, he'll be able to understand the specifics. At this point, we won't be able to do that. Other
Well,
questions
sure.
regarding economic development? I see no hands. So, Jim. Tracy? Did you have? Tracy, did you have a question? Something to add to this, just so?
I just, with regard to the last time the revolving loan fund committee met, according to the Secretary of State's website, the last legally posted meeting was in 2021.
2021?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson. So, Director Polino, that sound about right? Maybe it's more like 2021?
We did have some issue when to do the Secretary of State to go into the uploaded. But we.
Mr. Chairman.
It was a
Mr. Chairman.
2023.
Hold on one
As,
second.
as a matter of compliance, I think it's best for the record that the director get his facts straight and correlate those facts with the
Yeah,
clerk
good.
to have a
do
discussion
that.
like this about a legal compliance matter on the record.
We're going to do that. Then we're going to take the advice of Attorney Angel.
So, Mr. Chairman, in terms of the request that came about the financials for the 20, for the revolving loan fund, I will get that out to you.
Thank you.
As part of the response to council, I will get you the dates of the meeting and then tie it back to what the clerk stated.
Got it. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Last question. No specific.
This question is for the solicitor. I just wanted to ask if you could find out if we are having any foreclosures on any properties due to default in loans. Yes, Mr. Solicitor, you. Are we defaulting? There are businesses that were stated that were in default, and due to the
I don't think the solicitor's office is in a position to answer that. That is strictly a finance matter.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
as part of the comprehensive revolving loan fund report that I'll be doing, I will get you the status of any legal action against the mortgages which were pledged on said revolving loans.
Thank you, Mr. Director.
So that information will answer the question. Perfect. All right. If there are no further questions regarding economic development, I'm going to say thank you very much to Director Polino. Thank you for your time. All right. And that would conclude our hearings, except, I'm sorry. Can we circle back? And I know there was a question regarding rescue. Am I correct?
Yeah, the rescue.
Rescue Fund. So I just want to circle back to Rescue Fund for 1 minute before, all right? But Director Polino, you're all set for the night. Thank you so much. All right, and I'm going to turn it over to Council President.
Thank you. Just briefly, the rescue fund, the reimbursement, the revenue that's generated there, I understand we use a third-party billing company, and is that contract up? Is it projected, the percentage that we're going to get back, is that going to change? Any update on that revenue source?
Through the chair, I defer to Deputy Chief Green. I think, I don't know when the current contract expires, but I can get that back to you. Coronis, Chief, the term runs till when? I'm sorry? And when does it run until? Yeah. We can get you, I can get you the term of that contract with the comprehensive report on the revolving loan fund. Yep.
You good? Okay, so that we're going to close our hearings right now. The next item of business and a little explanation. We will not be considering amendments this evening. There was a concern regarding how the agenda was posted. In an abundance of caution, we're not going to take amendments until the next meeting on Wednesday, the budget adoption meeting. So amendments will happen that evening. However, there are a couple of issues regarding amendments that I would ask Attorney Angel to go over. If he would, the state law regarding tax increases and spending of opera funds. Attorney Angel?
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. So there was mention tonight of the expenditure of opera funds. For those who are new to the council, as you consider your amendments, understand that as of December 31st of 2024, the commitment of opera funds was locked in. Those allocations were made to the departments and to the line items under which they must be spent and earmarked as such. In addition to which, the Treasury guidance provided by the United States Treasury Department specifically requires that those departments have a memorandum of understanding or agreement with the administration as to the allocation of those funds, such that they cannot be clawed back by the administration and they have to be spent as earmarked. And I know that the administration has done that here. So with that said, you can't move those funds outside of those departments. You can't move them within the departments. They have to be spent for those things that they've been earmarked for. In addition to which, the city has 2 years, essentially from December 31st, within which to spend it, which means that as of December 31st, 2026, that's the last date on which those funds can be expended. So over the course of the next 2 years, you can expect, I'm sure, to see those funds being spent in the budget as allocated. And obviously, if they're not, then questions are rightly placed with respect to that. But the clock is now ticking on the expenditure of those funds. I hope that answers the question. But the council is not free to move those funds around as it would any other revenue type fund. Okay. In addition to that, I've been provided, and there was discussion on Saturday with respect to the tax increase. And so, obviously there is an accounting and financial difference between your tax levy, right, and your tax assessment. Okay, they don't correlate on a one-for-one number basis. I'll leave that to Mr. DeMayo and Director Zadelis to address that. But what I will say is that based upon the budget that's been proposed, that you're close to a 3% levy. Okay. State law speaks specifically to the levy. Okay. And so does your charter. So for example, charter provision 6.21 speaks to the levy. If you're going to go over 3%, okay? Which is a legislative body. You have the right to rearrange the deck chairs on the ship in any way you choose, as long as you can pay for it, things balance, and you make sure that you make your allocation to the rainy day fund. However, 6.21 of the charter is clear. If you go over 3% on the levy, okay, you have to do a couple of things, all right? So I want to point those out to you so that you can consider them in the context of proposed amendments, right? First of all, you'll need a majority vote of the council to do it, okay? And as an added stricture, the charter requires that you follow Rhode Island General Laws, Section 45-5-2, and in particular, Part D of that statute. And Part D articulates 4 circumstances under which you can go over the levy. Generally, the statute speaks to a municipality that wishes to exceed the 4% cap. But your charter specifically makes reference that if you're going to go over 3%, you have to have a vote of the majority, and you have to be able to articulate one of the 4 factors in Part D of the general law that I recited to you. So you have to know that, and it's not easy to achieve fitting into those boxes. For those of you who are interested in seeing that, it's 44-5-2, levying in assessment of local taxes. Part D is what you want to pay attention to. It's not easy that you can achieve one of those 4 factors. So I just point that out with respect that if the council does choose to increase the levy, you have to make sure that you have a legal basis to do so under the state statute. I will also point out that 6.21 in the charter does enumerate in shorthand fashion the 4 factors in Part D of the statute. Take the position, however, legally that that shorthand recitation in your charter is preempted by the legislative enactment of the General Assembly, as that statute may change. And I don't know, as I sit here, the dating or the date on which the charter provision was passed, when the general law may have been changed, and whether or not that particular charter section and any changes to it were legislatively ratified by the General Assembly, which would play a role in its effectiveness. So please keep that in mind as you consider your amendments.
Just, and I've looked over it briefly, and my background is not legal. Looking at the provisions in the state law, which seem to be, if we did consider amendments that went beyond the 3%, in your opinion, does the city satisfy any of those provisions in the state law?
It would be hard to say until there was an actual proposal to that effect,
Right.
and we could analyze it. It's a high bar.
Yeah.
I will say that it's a high bar.
This is whatever. Okay, thank you. Any questions for Attorney Angel? Okay. In that case, I believe there's no further business before this committee this evening, so the chair will look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, signify by saying nay. The ayes have it. The motion carries. Thank you so much and good night.